Pittsburgh is rich in music history. We have international musicians that are still globetrotting right here from Pittsburgh. But we also have a very, very deep musical history. And today I have a guest who is an expert on the subject. Ladies and gentlemen, it brings me great pleasure to bring to you Mr. Arnold Staples. How are you, man?
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. And, like when my secretary called me and said, hey, you're going to be on Mr. Willis' show, I was just excited, man. I said, oh, man, and I'm still excited to be here, brother.
Well, I tell you what, we were excited when we heard that you agreed to come on, man. You know what, you have a wealth of knowledge, and we appreciate you sharing some of that with us. So to get us started, a lot of people are familiar with your book and with your work, but here's an opportunity to let them know a little bit about who you are. Where were you born at?
I was born in Duquesne, Pennsylvania in 1952.
Okay, so
I grew up.
Go ahead.
I grew up in the projects, and I lived in the projects for about 20 years, and after I went to the United States Marine Corps. When I got out the Marine Corps, I moved to McKeesport. I bought a house, and I've been rolling ever since.
Okay, so what was it like for you growing up there? What
was
it like?
Even though we lived in the projects, we had fun. Every day, we had fun. There was fun things to do, and I had a fun life. Even though we lived in the projects, I had a fun life.
Okay.
Fun life.
So as a little boy, what did you do for fun?
As a little boy, we used to go on the back of the hill and roast potatoes.
Oh.
We used to raid the neighbors' cherry trees and peach trees and apple trees. That was during the summer. We used to go on the back of the hill called Penzie Woods, and we used to go through the woods, and we used to trap rabbits and squirrels. And there was an old hunter. I'm not going to mention his name, but he planted a shotgun in the ground with a plastic bag, and we used to go and shoot his shotgun. He didn't know it, but we used to shoot his shotgun, put it back in the ground. And growing up, we used to ride our bikes. Man, we had just fun, man. It was fun, even though we lived in, I would say, depressing times. It was fun, not like it is now.
Right.
Not like it is now.
Okay,
we made fun. We made fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like that you really enjoyed being outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, what about television? Did you watch television, man?
Well, first of all, my father did not allow us to watch TV.
Oh, is that right?
Right. Back then, it was like cowboy movies and the Three Stooges, and we could not watch the Three Stooges because he said that it was too violent for us to watch the Three Stooges. This was back in the 60s, back in the 60s and the 50s. We were not allowed to watch TV. Only when I got older, I was allowed to watch TV. And man, let me tell you something. TV was very interesting, I never really got to watch it when we were young. No.
Okay, now when you say when you got older,
yes,
what are you
when I
talking
got older.
About how older? I mean, we're talking when you got
maybe around 10, 12, 13 years old. But when we were younger, we were not allowed to watch TV.
So now you're 10, 12 years old, now you can watch the television.
Yeah, my father.
What did you like? I mean, what was on there that caught your interest, man?
The Lone Ranger.
Okay.
The Lone Ranger, Superman.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. The action TV shows caught my interest. My father called the television the one-eye monster. He always thought it was an evil thing, to watch that TV. So, at a young age, he was emphasizing how evil the TV could be or is, you know what I'm saying? But no, we were not allowed to watch TV, man.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, man. My hat goes off to you. Now, why am I saying that? Because you told me how your father felt about you watching television, and he didn't approve of that.
That's right.
But I didn't hear you say, but we snuck and did it.
No.
So you were obedient.
That's right.
And that's important for kids today.
That's right.
You know what I mean? To be obedient to the parents.
That's right.
Even if you don't agree.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so my hat goes off to you, man.
Man, we'd have got our butts whipped if we'd have snuck that TV because he knew. He knew. I don't know how he knew, but he knew.
Yeah. Now, you have brothers and sisters?
I have a brother and 3 sisters.
Okay, now where you stand at in line? Your oldest, youngest, middle child?
I'm the youngest.
I mean, you're the youngest?
I'm the youngest, but I'm the oldest.
Boy.
I'm the youngest, but I'm the oldest.
Okay, I understand what that.
What I'm saying about that is like I've been around the world. My siblings never been outside of Pennsylvania. I've been around the world.
Yeah.
I've been on 3 continents. I've been in like 100 and some countries.
Yeah.
So I've been around.
Yeah.
And so I think like I'm the oldest because I've seen so much.
Right.
You know, I've been around a lot of people. You know.
Yeah.
Been around a lot of people.
Now, growing up, was music being played in the house?
Boy, I would have to say yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would have to say yes. We listened to radio. Radio, WAMO, WZUM.
Mm-hmm.
I used to like to listen to WZUM.
Oh, did you?
Bobby Bennett, LG, Jeffrey Troy. I was never really a WAMO fan, believe it or not.
Well, let's take us there. I mean, how old were you when music caught your interest and made you want to start listening to the radio?
I was about 6, 7 years old.
Oh, yeah?
My Aunt Lucille used to buy the 45 vinyl records, and she had a little record player, and I used to go in there and put them records on and listen to them. And that music from that era caught my ear because, you know, she was older than me, but that her music caught my ear. And she was listening to, you know, music from the 40s and 50s, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And 45s. And yeah, it was good, man.
Yeah.
It was all good.
Did you have a favorite at that time, or you just liked it all?
My favorite at that time was Billy Stewart.
Oh,
I love Billy Stewart.
Bad
man.
boy.
Billy Stewart was the baddest dude on the planet
I agree
when he
with
was
you.
out.
I agree with you.
When he was out.
I totally
He was the
agree.
baddest cat. And I got to see him at the Savoy Ballroom.
What?
And I saw him up at the, Brother Matt used to have a dance hall up in Adamsburg called The Barn. And we used to go up to the barn, and Brother Matt would book all those guys, man. And I got to see Billy Stewart.
You got a chance to see Billy Stewart.
man, Billy
I
Stewart.
always wished that I could have seen him
man.
live.
Oh, Lord.
Was he just as electric as he was on record?
Well, you have to remember now, back then, they used to lip sync. They would play the record, and he'd be on stage like he would lip sync.
Is that right?
Yeah, I saw him up at the barn lip syncing. I saw him at the Savoy Ballroom actually playing. Yeah, he was good.
Okay.
Billy Stewart was good, man. What you talking about?
There was only one Billy Stewart, man. He had his own unique sound. Now, you know who the drummer was on those records, right?
No, I don't.
He started his own band later on, but he was the session drummer at Chess Records. His name is Maurice White.
Oh, Maurice White, yeah. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah, he later on put his own group together.
Yep.
But Maurice White, he was the session drummer at Chess Records at the time that Billy Stewart was on Chess. And so he played on Cross My Heart and I Do Love You and Summertime.
What you know about Cross My Heart, man?
Oh, man, look, I like Billy Stewart, too. Because when you said that, I said, oh, you know your stuff, man.
Oh, Billy Stewart was the man. He was the man, you know.
Yeah.
You know, back then, everyone was like, you know, like James Brown and stuff like that. But Billy Stewart was my man. Yeah, Billy Stewart was my man.
Well, James Brown, he's the one that did it for me, man.
Yeah.
When I was a little boy, he was the first one that actually caught my interest.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? But I got aware of Billy Stewart from my sister.
Right.
You know, playing I Do Love You.
Right.
And Sitting in the Park.
Right. Well, see, I'm more of a balladeer. I'm not a funk man. You're a funk man. See, because if you like James Brown, you're a funk man. You like to get down.
Yeah.
I like that ballad. You know, I like the ballads. You know, I like to, you know, hold me tight, squeeze me, all your might stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but see, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
okay. There was a time in my life where once the sun went down, nothing but ballads.
That's right.
I would play and listen to nothing but ballads.
Yeah.
I love a good ballad, you know. And like you said, Billy Stewart, man, he definitely was one of the greats. You know what I mean?
man.
He had a style all his own.
Oh.
I've never heard anybody duplicate his sound to this day.
You won't.
Yeah.
You won't.
And another one that I can put in that same category was Linda Jones.
Oh man!
I never heard
saw
no
her
one-
too.
You-
I saw her
you
too.
saw
I
Linda
bet the
Jones?
barn. I bet the barn in Adamsburg, lip syncing. Like I said, that's what they did. They would put the record on, and she'd stand up there and lip sync. You know.
Well,
And
well, let me ask you this. What was the first concert or show that you went to, may I ask?
James Brown.
That was the first one?
Yeah, James Brown.
Yeah.
My neighbor lived in the project. Was going to see James Brown. Said, "Hey, you want to see James Brown?" I said, "I don't really want to go see James Brown." He said, "Come on, go." So we went down to the Stanley Theater. Saw James Brown.
What was that
The most
experience
awesome,
like for you?
most awesome show I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
With the cape, come on with the cape. Oh man, James Brown was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Now, are we talking high school years or
No, we're
are
talking
you out of high school by now?
no. We're talking
Junior
We're
high?
talking junior high. We're talking junior high.
Oh, this is junior high.
Oh, we're talking
school
junior.
years,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. My recollection of music goes back,
Yeah.
way back. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh yeah. I was into music. I was into music when I was 7, 8, 9, 10. Just listening to it, collecting 45s. I was collecting 45s when I was 8, 9 years old. I would collect them.
Yeah.
Still have some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was collecting them records.
So do you remember what it exactly was about music? Because I know I have some buddies, they collect baseball cards.
Right.
And
Right.
some of them went into sports.
Right.
And they went into other things.
Right.
But there was something about music
Right.
that caught your interest. You
Right.
started listening to
Right.
it. You started going to concerts when
Right.
you was able. You started
Right.
buying music.
Right.
Do you remember or have you ever thought about what was it about music that grabbed you like that?
First of all, I have to tell you, I know very little about jazz and country music. R&B music caught my ear. Why R&B music? I have no idea. Because back then when I was coming up, a lot of people were listening to jazz. They were not really listening to R&B. And I liked the R&B music. I don't know why, but it just caught my ear.
Yeah.
Because like I said, people were listening to jazz. And then when the 70s, early 70s came in, they were listening to that psychedelic stuff with Jimi Hendrix. They were listening to that stuff. Some people were,
Yeah.
but it was sort of like crossing over.
Yeah.
But I was still listening to R&B. I was listening to R&B when disco came in. I was listening to R&B. When the rap came in, I'm still listening to R&B,
Right.
I pull out my old 45, my old vinyl, go down to my recording studio, sit back, and listen to that music, man.
Yeah.
And it's the music I grew up on.
And see, as a result, you are an expert on the subject. So when we come back, would you please continue to take us on this journey and share some of your expertise with us?
Well, listen, I don't know if I'm an expert, but I do have a PhD in R&B.
Okay, well, that makes you an expert then. So ladies and gentlemen, please don't you dare touch that dial. We're here with the very talented, very knowledgeable music expert, Mr. Arnold Staples. And please, we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you just joining us, you are missing it. Sit down, take your shoes off, get comfortable. We're here with the music expert, Mr. Arnold Staples. And before we went to the break, I had asked him to continue to take us on this journey. Now, we were into his junior high school years. He started going to concerts, and one of his favorite vocalists was Billy Stewart.
The Fat Boy.
Yeah, Fat Boy. And so now we're in high school, and after high school, he joins the armed services. So he's going to share that experience with us right now. So what was that like when you got out of high school and you decided, what made you decide to join up anyway?
Well, first of all, like I told you, when I was young, we used to go on the back of the hill and play and simulate being in the Marine Corps or the Army, whatever, playing soldier on the back of the hill. I always grew up, I wanted to be a Marine. So anyway, in 1972, when I graduated from Duquesne High, I joined the United States Marine Corps, which was a hell of an experience. Anyone to go to Parris Island for 14 weeks and have 3 drill instructors screaming and hollering at you 24/7 for 14 weeks, that was hell. But anyway, once I got out of boot camp, I went to more hell. Went to Vietnam. I was in Vietnam for 1 year. I was aboard the USS Blue Ridge. We patrolled the coast of Vietnam. We were a detachment. If they needed us, they would call us and we would go ashore and do what we had to do as Marines. Mm-hmm. We were called upon twice to go in the country and take care of business. And that's what we did. As a Marine, well, you know what we did. We kicked butts and we didn't take no names. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I got the opportunity to get a pass for a couple of days. I had the chance to go to Hawaii or to Japan. Mm-hmm. Well, I knew if I went to Hawaii, I don't know if I'm coming back to all this stuff. You know, you're gonna be looking for me. But anyway, I decided to go to Japan. So me and a couple of my buddies, we go to Japan and we go see a movie in downtown Tokyo. We went to the movie theater in downtown Tokyo. They were playing a James Bond movie, mm-hmm. Goldfinger. Okay. I believe it was Goldfinger. Mm-hmm. So we go into the movie theater and we go and we sit there and we're waiting for the movie to play. Well, you know, now when you go to the movie, they show all these commercials. Right. They show commercial after commercial before they get to the movie. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we're waiting for the movie to start. And we hear this, could it be, I'm falling in love. Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose, Too Late to Turn Back Now. Mm-hmm. And then they come back with Blue Moon. Blue Moon. I'm in Vietnam, Pittsburgh sound. All of a sudden, my whole mindset, everything just switches back to Pittsburgh. I'm back in Pittsburgh. I'm not in Vietnam. For 2 minutes and 34 seconds, I was in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Took all that stress and anger out of me. It was like, and you know what? And I came to the conclusion that music is therapeutic. Mm-hmm. If you get the right music, it could calm you down. Yes. And that 2 minutes and 35 seconds of bomb, 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 but the dang, Blue Moon, it brought me down, man. You know, drugs couldn't even bring me down. I'm gonna tell you the truth. But that song took me back to Pittsburgh, back to the streets of Pittsburgh and out of Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And I always wanted to thank those guys, but I never got to thank the Marcells for that song. Yeah. Because that song actually saved my sanity. It really did. Yeah. Because, you know, like I said, a lot of people don't really want to talk about their experience in Vietnam, especially in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, we were there for one reason, And that reason was to kill. And that's what they trained us to do. For 14 weeks, that's what they trained us to do, to kill.
And that was
not,
your mindset.
not to go there and make friends, not to go there and hand out brown bags, but to kill.
Yeah.
And that was the experience that I was in when I was in Vietnam.
Now, when you heard Blue Moon and that other song, was that the first time you heard some
Yes.
R&B music?
Not really,
since you was over there?
not really, no.
Oh,
no.
so you had all the opportunities
yeah,
to...
not really,
Because that's
because-
what I was wondering, because you remember there was a movie with Robin Williams, Good Morning,
Vietnam. Not really, but hold on, let me get done.
Okay.
Let me get done with this.
Come on.
Pittsburgh, not so much, it's too late to turn back now by Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose. It was the Pittsburgh sound of the Marcells. Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose did not bring me back to Pittsburgh, but the Marcells brought me back to Pittsburgh. But anyway, now let's get back to what you just said. I actually did some work in my spare time with the Armed Forces Radio to play music and stuff on the bass.
Okay.
So no, I heard it before, but not that Pittsburgh, not the Pittsburgh sound, but they were playing like the top 40. They were playing the top 40 R&B songs of that time. That was 1972. Blue Moon came out in 1961. Came out in 1961. But the song is related to Pittsburgh. And just hearing it just reminded me of Porky Chedwig, Whammo. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, brought you on back home.
That's what I'm talking
And
about.
that's why
Brought me back home.
a lot of people don't understand, but we have to be careful at what we listen to. Here's why. Because as you said, music has an effect on the human body. You listen to soothing music to be soothed. Some people listen to patriotic music when they want to be patriotic. Or they listen to religious music when they want to be religious. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
But music has an effect on the body. So when you listen to stuff that's glorifying drive-bys and all this other stuff, that has an effect on you too. So it's important to be careful about the kind of music that you listen to because of the effect that it has on the human body. And just like you said, you know, that had an effect on you. It brought you back to Pittsburgh, man. When you heard the Marcells, you know what I mean?
Man.
Who originated right here on the north side of Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Man, when I heard old Fred, and the voice just echoed through the theater. Bomb, 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 bomb. Oh, Fred Johnson. Oh, what is he doing in Tokyo? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, man. Yeah, but you're right. And you know what? Just like I told you, my dad did not let us watch TV because he knew the effect that TV had back during those days. He called it the one-eyed monster, you know, and that's what it is. It's a one-eyed monster because it actually, people watch it, they simulate what they see and they hear, you know, and most of it's bad. Ain't none of it good. The news ain't good. The TV shows ain't good, you know, so hey.
Well, just think about it now. When I turn on the television, a lot of the shows glorify murder.
Absolutely.
Some shows, the theme is murder.
Right.
I click to another channel, oh, they looking for the murder.
Right.
And I click to another channel, somebody running down the street with a gun looking for somebody, see?
Right.
This is what they're feeding, and then they wonder why the murder rate is up.
Right.
See, you know, there was an old saying that says, you are what you eat.
Absolutely.
So when you feed on that, see, some people can't separate this is Hollywood from reality.
Right.
And in their mind, this is how it is.
But to be honest with you, Hollywood is reality because what these people are putting out is what people are really doing. I mean, people are actually taking people's organs. They're taking their organs, man. They're killing them and they're taking their organs, believe it or not. Believe it or not. And when you see a movie like Jaws, okay, I have a friend who lives in Bermuda. He says, they tell the people, don't go in the water because the sharks are out there. People go out in the water and the sharks get them. Jaws. I mean, this stuff happens. It happens. And, you know, Hollywood has a way of making it seem like it's Hollywood, but this stuff is really happening, man.
Yeah.
It's really happening.
Well, what do you think about the music scene today? Because I know that you listen,
I don't listen
to
to
the real
it.
stuff.
I don't know nothing about it.
Well, what happened though?
Well, people got old. The generation died. The people who were making the good music, the generation died. These young people came in. Every generation has their music. Every generation has their sound of music. You had yours. Your parents had theirs. Your grandparents had theirs. Every generation has their sound of music. Now, what these kids listen to now, I don't know. I don't listen to it. I don't listen to it. I do not listen to the radio. I listen to my CDs. I listen to stuff, my vinyl records, my vinyl 45. That's what I listen to.
Yeah, but when you look at the history, though, you go back to Louis Jordan and the Timpani Five, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you listen to the music. Now, there's certain ingredients that make a song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the melody. You know what I mean? You have the harmonies and
Right.
all these other ingredients to go into making a song. Now we come up, and then here comes the Mills Brothers.
Right.
We got that vocal harmony.
Right.
And then you come on up, and then we got the Temptations.
Absolutely. Every
That's that
generation.
vocal harmony. But
Right.
now we got choreography with that vocal harmony. See, we got the showmanship. Okay, and then we come up, oh, here comes the New Edition.
Right.
Here comes the Backstreet Boys in sync.
Right.
You know what I mean? New Kids on the
Right.
Block. Now, who's the singing groups now? There is no more singing groups that has picked up that torch and carried it on. Again, where are our tap dancers?
Well, like
You
I
see
said,
what I mean? The torch was dropped somewhere. And we had a legacy, but at some point, it got dropped somewhere. And I'm like you. The bulk of my music that I listen to is mostly 70s. I'll dip back into the 60s.
Right.
But I'm mostly 70s because that was my, like you said, that was my era.
That was
You
your
know, I
era.
graduated in 1976.
Right.
And back in the 70s, I'll tell anybody, there was more music out in the 70s than any other decade.
Absolutely.
Everybody was singing and
Absolutely.
playing, you know what I mean? And it was
Absolutely.
all kind of, and it was all good. And you can tell when the song came on, oh, that's war.
right.
Oh,
Even-
that's mandrill.
even-
Oh, that's the stylistics. They
Right.
had their own distinct sound.
Right.
But it seems that things have changed. But I know that right here in Pittsburgh, we had a wealth of talent, even local, some who have never went on to national recognition.
Right.
But that didn't mean that they weren't bad.
That's right.
And you know about this.
I know about
And
it.
so when we come back, would you please share some of that rich history of the Pittsburgh R&B scene with us?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Don't you dare touch that dial. Take a slug from a jug, stick and stay, don't go away, and we'll be right back with Mr. Arnold Staples.
this goes out to Helen, Wendy, Bam, Ray Ray, Chrissy, and all of you, and thank you for all of the years for supporting us and being with us. We love you. God bless you. Thank you.
That's the bass man. Take a bow, Fred.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the multi-talented Mr. Arnold Staples, and he's written a fantastic book. He's an author, and he's going to share some of the fascinating facts that he has in his book. First of all, Arnold, what's the title of your book?
Excuse me. Soul of Pittsburgh, R&B music trivia. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Well, what made you want to create this publication?
I'll tell you what happened. I just got done writing my first book called No Justice, No Peace. Took me 5 years to write that book. The book took out a lot of, it took a lot from me. Mentally, physically, I was exhausted when I got done writing that book. 5 years writing a book. And one day, I went down to my recording studio and I put my old vinyl records on. I just happened to grab something by the Joneses called Pretty Pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Came out in 1969. And I wrote that first book in 1995. In 1995, I wrote my first book. So anyway, I'm down in my recording studio and I'm playing this lot of old Pittsburgh stuff. The Joneses, the Caprells, Walk On By. You got to pull that up on YouTube. It's a hell of a song. The El Pooks, Betty Davis from Homestead. I'm pulling all this music up and I'm saying, man, none of these people got any recognition. What is going on here? The Joneses, Sugar Pie Guy, 1973, I believe it was, 74. It was a number one song for I don't know how many weeks on the national Billboard charts.
Yeah, I seen them on Soul Train.
Yeah, on Soul Train. You can see them on Soul Train. They got no recognition from the city of Pittsburgh. The El Pooks from Malaquippa, they had a song out called Psychedelic Soul. It was heavy. It made the national charts. No recognition. The Caprells, Betty Davis, none of these people. Anyway, so I'm sitting in my studio. I said, you know what? I'm going to write a trivia book, and I'm going to put all their accomplishments, all their history in the book. So I sat down one day, and I started writing. Well, that one day ended up to be 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. 2.5 years of research went into this book.
Now, what year was that you started?
Well, this is the thing. I started in 2005.
Okay.
Now, this here is the second edition.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second edition. The one in 2005, I started with the first one. This here one, I started about 4 years ago with this one. I started 4 years ago with this one. So this is the second edition. The first edition, I didn't really like it. But this one, I put my heart and soul in this one. And I did more research. And I interviewed a lot of people. A lot of people who I interviewed, they're no longer here. And I had that opportunity to interview Jimmy Beaumont of the Skyliners. I had the opportunity to interview Glenn Dorsey of the Joneses. I had the opportunity to interview blue-eyed soul singer by the name of John DeBussy, mm-hmm. who Otis Redding took under his wings and took him down to Memphis and he recorded. He was the only. Well, I think there might have been another Caucasian singer that recorded on the Stax record label, but as far as I believe, Johnny Day was the only Caucasian to record on Stax Records, and he was under Otis Redding's wings. And when Otis got killed in 1968 in a plane crash, Johnny was left without a mentor. So he came back to Pittsburgh and he ended his career. But he did record 2 songs on the Stax record label, What I'll Do for Satisfaction and Stay Baby Stay. They're awesome. If you ever get the chance, pull them up on YouTube. This guy, he was a great performer. If Otis Redding thought he was a great performer, he was a great performer. And, you know, like I said, you had the Joneses, Sugar Pie Guy, Pretty Pretty. You had the Caprells, Walk On By. They did a remake of Isaac Hayes, Dionne Warwick's Walk On By. They did a fantastic job. You got to pull that up. You got to check that out. The El Pooks from Aliquippa, great performers. They opened for the Temptations at the Civic Arena. They were a good group, man, but they never got no recognition. They had a national charted song called Psychedelic Soul 1 and 2. You had, like I said, you had Betty Davis. There was a lot more, but like I said, I'm an old man. I can't remember all the groups. I would have to look at the book. If I look at the book, okay, you know. But my mind is like, you know, like any old person mind. I can't remember everything, but the stuff that I do remember, you know, I can, you know, put out there. And like I said, I did the research. It's all in the book, and it was fun. It was actually therapeutic. Here we go. It was therapeutic to be able to write this book for me at the time when I got done writing No Justice, No Peace, which was, you know, it was real devastating for me to write No Justice, No Peace, and it took a lot out of me. And like I said, this was my way of my therapeutic way of releasing all the anger that I had in me from writing that book, because I was on it for 5 years. I actually followed a case, a police brutality case for 5 years, and it was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah. But yeah, and I decided to write this to release all the anger and to get me back to normal. Because like we had discussed, music is therapeutic. Yeah. And if you can get the right music, if you can hear the right music, you can actually come down. And, you know, I could never understand why they play elevator music in the subway downtown until I asked someone. And they said, well, that's to keep the homeless people out. They don't want to hear that music. I said, I never knew that. They said that music drives them crazy. That's why if you go down Pittsburgh in the subway, you don't see no homeless people down there. And I challenge you, go down there. See if you see any homeless people. They put that underground, that's classic underground music on. It runs them out of there. And I worked down there for a while. It ran me out of there. I had to get out of there. I had to get out. I said, I can't work down here. Yeah. I can't listen to this stuff. Yeah. But yeah, like we said, music is therapeutic. And you know, it was a blessing to actually write this book. It was a blessing for me to be able to interview these guys that went on. You know, Jimmy Beaumont, Glenn Dorsey. I actually interviewed. What's her name? Stevie Wonder's first wife, Sharita. I actually interviewed her before she passed. Oh, okay. And she gave me a lot of information, you know, and I kept all this information. I recorded it, stored it in my little brain, and you know, I was able to come up with this book. Okay. And it's a heck of a book. It's a one of a kind. This is the #1 best-selling music book in Pittsburgh, is the Soul of Pittsburgh, R&B Music Trivia. It's the #1 best-selling music book in Pittsburgh. It's a one-of-a-kind. Only 500 copies have been printed. That's how I wanted it. I want it to be a collectible, in which it is. And if you are a doo-wopper, if you are a music lover, if you are a a baby boomer, 55 and older, if you are an ex-musician, if you are an ex-disc jockey, if you don't have one of these books in your collection, you are a donut. You got a hole in your soul, and you better go out and get one so you won't have a hole in your soul. So there we go.
Yeah, I tell you, man, I appreciate that. Now we're going to take a break, but when we come back, would you share just some of your cherished interviews with us? Just maybe some
Yes.
of what that was like for you?
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
we'll be right back with the very talented Mr. Arnold Staples.
Yes.
Don't go nowhere.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for continuing to join in with us, and as we're on this exciting journey with Mr. Arnold Staples. And we were talking about his book, which is entitled The R&B Music Trivia, Soul of Pittsburgh. And you were saying that some of the ones that, some of the facts and trivia you have in here was actually from actual interviews that you've actually done with individuals.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What are some of your most cherished interviews that you've done?
I'm gonna start with Johnny Day, Johnny DeBussy. I'm gonna start with the blue-eyed soul singer. I thought his experience was the most exciting experience to come out of Pittsburgh, and I'll tell you why. In 1965, there was a concert at the Stanley Theater. At that concert, there was a number of Stax recording artists: Rufus Thomas, Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett, Carla Thomas. They were all there. Johnny DeBussy, Johnny Day, he gets a call from Brother Matt. Hey man, you got to come down to the Stanley Theater and you got to perform. Well, Johnny said, what's the problem? He said, well, Wilson had too much to drink. Can't go on stage. So Johnny Day, a blue-eyed soul singer from Homewood, goes down, performs on stage. Otis Redding standing on the side watching this young man perform. and he liked what he saw. So he takes Johnny under his wings, takes him down to Memphis, like I said before, and he records him at the Stax Record Studios. Johnny gave me the whole story. Johnny gave me his whole story when he stayed with Johnny Nash. He stayed with Johnny Nash, the guy that made the song, ba, 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 ba. I can see clearly now. Mm-hmm. He actually stayed with him in New York, and the guy who lived downstairs was Jackie Wilson, and he got to meet Jackie Wilson. Now, this is a blue-eye soul. This is a blue-eye soul brother. He was hanging with these brothers back then. And I thought his story was very, very unique and interesting at that time. Now, you got to remember, this was the mid-'60s, 67, 68. And I thought his story was the most exciting story to come out of Pittsburgh. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I talked with Jimmy Ross of the Jaggers. He was the Jaggers were part of the early Philly sound. They were part of the early Philly sound with Gamble and Huff, Tom Bell, and all them boys. He told me a story that I asked him, I said, hey, how did you get along, with the brothers? How you get along with the Soul Brothers? I mean, you guys being Caucasians back in that era. He said, man, we got along pretty good. He said, the Intruders, like you said, the Intruders taught us a few things, like I was trying to tell you. Maybe you need someone to teach you sometimes. Maybe you need someone to show you something. They got along real good with the Intruders. The Intruders actually sang on one of their songs. He said people don't know it. And they had a good experience with that whole stable of performers at Stax, at Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. That had been Philadelphia International with Gamble and Huff, Tom Bell, Leon Huff. So they had a good experience. I talked with Glenn Dorsey. Glenn Dorsey, very interesting guy. Told me about how the Joneses got started, where they got started, who he liked as an entertainer. They all seemed to like the Temptations for some reason. I don't know why, but I don't know why, but they all seem to like the Temptations. Yeah. And if you look at them on Soul Train, I'm not going to say that they look like the Temptations, but like you said, they were stepping. Yeah. They had a nice performance on stage. Mm-hmm. And he told me, that they were, trying to get the Temptations people to teach them how to dance on stage, because they wanted to learn how to dance on stage, performance. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Beaumont of the Skyliners, he lived in McKeesport. I lived in McKeesport.
And I lived in McKeesport.
And you lived in McKeesport?
At one time.
Okay. All right. Where did you live at McKeesport?
I lived right on Spring Street, right off of Walnut.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I lived on Centennial Street, McKeesport. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Beaumont was from the 10th Ward. I used to talk to him like the group had broke up, but they didn't break up. They broke up, and then they got back together. But anyway, he was driving a taxi cab. And I used to always see Jimmy, and I would talk to him about his experience. See, because I always like to ask people about their experience in life. I don't care, I don't really care about, some people don't want to talk about things. They don't want to talk about religion, race, or sex. But I'm open-minded. And I asked him about his experience being a Caucasian group coming up during that time on the Chitlin circuit with a lot of black entertainers. And he said they got along pretty well. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, you know what? That's good. And he went in detail about his music experience, his background, and what he liked. He liked the Temptations.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Beaumont liked the Temptations.
Yeah.
So apparently everyone was trying to, I don't know, everyone liked the Temptations. I don't know if they were trying to mimic them.
As far as singing groups, the Temptations pretty much set the bar.
I think so.
You know, they set the bar. That's where
so.
if you had a singing group, then you kind of looked at the Temptation and as far as how does this work?
Right.
How does this function?
Right.
What should it look like?
Right.
So everybody was kind of like looking at the Temp.
Right.
So
right.
And Jimmy, man, he was a real down to earth guy. I did a lot of shows with Jimmy drumming with the Marcells. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with you about that, and I can see how they wouldn't have any problem being on the Chitlin circuit.
Right.
Because Jimmy and the Skyliners, man, they just down to earth folks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But like I said, you got to remember, at that time, 60s, 65, 69, segregation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, it wasn't too kosher for them to be traveling. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But, he said, hey, look, everyone treat them with respect. And I said, man, you can't beat that.
Yeah. Well, look here, man. I want to ask you this, Arnold. Do you have any regrets?
Regrets about?
As far as, some things that you maybe wish you wouldn't have done or you wish you would have done differently or anything like that when you look back on it all?
Yes, I have one regret. Like I said, I did not autograph or take photos with these people who I interviewed. I wanted to be in a photo with them.
Okay.
And I have no photo of me and the Blue Eyed Soul singer Johnny Day, Jimmy Beaumont, Sharita Wright, Chuck Edwards. I have no photos in being in the photo with them.
Oh, okay.
I regret that. I regret not taking a photo. But before I leave here, I'm going to take a photo with you, if you don't mind. If you don't mind, at least I can say I got your autograph and I have a photo of you.
I'm nobody, man. But I tell you what, though, is there anything that you have not done that you still would like to do?
Well, right now I'm working on a documentary film. I'm trying to get the city of Duquesne to rename a street over there after Earl Father Hines, who grew up in Duquesne, who was raised in Duquesne, who is the father of jazz. I want to try to get a plaque set up over there coming into the city, something that's going to recognize this great man. So those are two things that I'm working on right now.
Any thought of part 2?
This is part 2. No more books.
Okay.
I'm not writing any more books. This is actually the second edition. I'm not writing any more books. I'm done writing books.
Okay.
I'm going into film. I'm going to do my documentary. I'm going to get this thing done for Earl Father Hines, and then I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch your show on TV.
Well,
That's what I'm
sure
going to do.
Appreciate that.
That's what I'm going to do.
Well, I tell you
I'm going to sit back in my rocking chair like everyone else my age, rocking away, you know what I'm saying, waiting for whatever they're waiting on, you know. Yeah. I used to always ask my grandfather, what are you waiting on? Well, don't worry about it, sonny. Don't worry about it. What you waiting on, you know? Sit in a rocking chair.
Well, I tell you what,
rocking my life away.
I thank you so much for coming down, man. You know, this is what I try to do with the Timmy Willis show, man, is that everybody has a story, man.
Everyone has a story.
And you have a fascinating story, and I sure appreciate you coming down and sharing some of that story with us, man. And as long as I'm doing it, Arnold, you can always come back, man. I'd be happy to have you.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. And I could feel your sincerity. And, I could tell that you're real and you're legit, and I don't mind being on your show.
Wow.
Because I hang with legit people. I don't hang with all those people who want to front. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you ain't legit, I ain't coming on your show.
Well, that's one thing about you and I.
Too legit to quit.
We too legit to quit.
Too legit to quit.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you can get your hands on this, the R&B music trivia, the Soul of Pittsburgh. So we thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, whatever you do, Make somebody happy, make somebody strong. Until next time.
Say I really need you. There's no exaggeration. To say I'm gonna please you. It's not just speculation.